Love that. You got to use the things, the skills and talents that you have, right? Because I think students often get caught up trying to reinvent the wheel. They're trying to come up with the most innovative way to run a fundraiser, the most innovative way to provide a lunchtime activity for everyone to get involved with. Just look at what you're good at. Because if you're good at it and you're passionate about it and you run something to do with it, it's going to be contagious.
This is the Student Leadership News Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Student Leadership News Podcast. It's great to be back with you. Once again, it is Cam with you. And today I am joined by...
Caleb. What's up, everybody? Great to be with you today on the podcast. How are you today, Cam?
I am excellent. Caleb, now we're down at the beach at the moment. You and I have decided to go sit down at the beach and record this episode of the podcast. Describe for our audience, what is the environment we're sitting in?
Well, it's nice. We're at a bench. We're looking at the waves. I don't know if you guys can hear them in the background. There's people walking past like, why are you guys speaking into microphones when you're at the beach? That's so random. The significant fact about today, we were talking about this earlier though. Like when we woke up this morning, it was like 12 degrees.
Yeah, Celsius, yep.
It was like 12 degrees. And now it's like 28. And it's been like 2 hours.
Yeah, it's gone really warm really quick.
It doesn't know what kind of day it is. It doesn't know what season it is. I don't know. Maybe we can find some extremes like that today.
But it's beautiful. It's great no matter what. Now, Caleb, today's theme, you already know the answer.
Uh-huh.
What's the answer, Caleb?
You already know. You already know, Cam. You already know the
it.
answer. And so do our listeners.
Yes,
and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Today we're going to unpack how student leaders already know the answer to every question, every problem that they've got in student leadership. We're going to be unpacking that in a number of different ways. And of course, we're going to help you guys see this answer. And we're going to help you in your journey as student leaders.
Absolutely. We're going to look at some fantastic stories that have been featured on the Student Leadership News website over the last couple of months. And they demonstrate this, like you started to say then, Cam, student leaders, sometimes they think they've got a problem, but the answer might be right there in front of them. So we're going to kick that off by taking a look at one of our favorite segments we do on this podcast, and that is called My Favorite Idea.
Let's do it.
My favorite idea.
My favorite idea, Caleb, one of my favorite segments and one of yours as well, where we both get to share our favorite ideas that have been shared on the Student Leadership News website. And just a quick shout out. If you want to get more ideas just like the ones we're about to share, head over to www.studentleadership.news. There are plenty of great ideas getting uploaded there.
Ideas for days.
Like what? Three different articles a week or something
At
like
least.
that? Wow, that's a lot. So head over there or follow us on social media.
And not just ideas, like real things that students are doing. So students across Australia, New Zealand and abroad are actually doing these things. So it's cool to think, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, Caleb, share with us, what's one of the ideas you found this week?
Yes, my favorite idea for this podcast comes from Toorak College, which is in Victoria. And we're looking at some students, 70 in fact, got involved in this initiative. 70 students, Cam.
That's a lot.
Getting involved. And they've started an initiative that they call Caps for Cancer.
Okay.
And what I love about this is that this is something that was already going on at their school, right?
Okay.
So their teacher, Carolyn D is the teacher's name, right? So she is a teacher that gets involved at school with home economics, textiles. You might call it a variety of different things at your school. But that's a thing that happens at most schools.
Yep.
We know about that. We know sewing, cooking. I used to love cooking in school.
Did you?
I was really bad at it, but you got to eat something at the end.
What was your favorite dish?
I think all I ever pulled off decently was an apple crumble, because all you had to do was put apple in a dish and crumble on top. And then oven that.
Perfect.
But these girls at this Toorak College, right? And they're much better than me. Much better than me. And they weren't getting involved with cooking actually this time. They were getting involved with textiles. So it's something that they already did.
Yep.
But what they chose to do is get involved, or start actually. They didn't get involved. They're the creators of this project, Caps for Cancer. And what they did was they made from scratch a whole bunch of different warm hats. It's a bit cold down in Victoria. We were talking about 12 degrees earlier. Yeah. That's not cold. We're talking proper cold.
That's like the hottest part of the day.
That's you and I
for them.
complaining, but that's the hottest part of the day. That's tough. So these guys are sewing warm caps. This is cool, right? But they've identified a need in their community as well, and they've met it with what they already knew how to do. They knew how to create these caps. They knew how to sew. So they created these warm caps for people who would need them. Namely, they gave them to the chemotherapy day unit at Frankston Hospital. So, of course, a lot of the patients who are in that ward might perhaps be, losing or have lost their hair. It's something that happens during that kind of treatment. So they thought, what can we do? What can we do to make these people feel loved? What can we do to help these people out? And they've sewn some really warm, beautiful caps that they could wear during winter, and a fashion statement as well.
Wow, that's an awesome idea. And Caleb, it's actually, I love that idea so much because it basically ties into mine.
Come on.
Except my students, they're from WA, Western Australia, Santa Maria College, and they're doing something very similar, except totally different at the same time.
Okay.
They've also looked for
Please
a need
explain.
in their community,
Yep.
and they've filled that need, but with something that they're already doing well.
Right.
So they've got a cafe, and they've actually they've been making sandwiches, part of their hospitality team
and apple
at their
crumble?
school. No, not apple crumble, but they're making sandwiches and cookies, and they're actually donating those using a local community group. And as part of awareness for National Homelessness Week, they're using this food to give to a local community group to distribute to the homeless people in their community.
That's
They've
fantastic.
identified the need, and they've filled it with something that they're already doing well.
But there's a lesson for me straight away, because I loved cooking in home ec because I got to eat the food.
Yeah.
But these students are much better than me.
Yeah.
These guys are better leaders than I was at that stage, because they've identified that there's someone who needs that food more than them that they're creating. So they're passing it on to homeless people in their local community. Fantastic idea.
I love those because I guess in both of these situations, they already knew the answer. They just had to, they've identified a problem, and they thought, not how can we make something elaborate? How can we do something crazy? How can we hold a fundraising day?
Yeah.
They've looked at their school and have said, we've already got people sewing who are good at sewing. We've already got people who are cooking who are good at cooking.
Yep.
How about we just use those needs, those abilities,
Yep.
and we apply them to a need?
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what I love about this, and what we're going to look at in the next segment, which I'll introduce for you now, Cambo, is that they didn't just, or in these examples, they use that idea of taking something you already know how to do, something you already do, and applying it to a need in the community. But you can actually do this at school as well.
Yeah.
You can do this at school as well. But I won't say too much more, because we're going to check it out in our next segment, which is Best Leadership Tip.
BLT, Best Leadership Tip.
Okay, so we've talked about these students who have taken their textiles classes, their cooking classes at school, and they've applied it to a need in their community. And we've come to the conclusion that we think this works at school as well, Cam.
Yes, it does. 100%. There's so many different things at school. There's so many different people with different skills. And nearly every single one of those can be used for a cause outside of school.
Yeah. And then you can also look at the needs. So they identified, these patients in hospital, and they created the caps. Fantastic. And then they looked at homeless people in their community, providing food for them. Fantastic. But what about the students in school?
Yeah.
What about using the abilities and the needs the abilities that you have, the things you know how to do, to meet needs for the students in your school?
Ooh, yes.
Because as a student leader, one of the key focuses, we often get caught up with thinking about things outside school, but you've been appointed a student leader.
Yep.
So you need to recognize that you need to be focused on your school as well and what you can do for your school.
That's
so
very
I want
true.
to tell you a story, Cam. It's another one from Student Leadership News website, and it is called, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
The Amazing Race.
Is that meant to be like the Amazing Race?
Did I stutter?
You did not stutter.
The Amazing Race.
Okay, can I guess what it's about?
Tell me.
Okay, I don't know much about this.
Tell me.
The Amazing, is it something to do with maths?
You're onto it.
Oh,
Amathing, maybe is
Amathing.
perhaps a better
Okay.
pronunciation.
So it's the Amazing Race, but for maths.
Yes, that's right. So
Okay.
we're at
Tell me more.
Camberwell Grammar, right?
Okay.
And we've got these students, and they're back at school, and a whole bunch of the students at that school at the time were actually on an excursion. That's the other part I love about this, right? This is just a little side note. A bunch of these students were off on an excursion. Often that would be an excuse not to do much at school.
Yeah.
But these student leaders were like, no. We're going to make it awesome for the guys at school as well. So I love that attitude that they have, but that's not the point we're making today. The point I'm making today is that they recognize something that they already knew how to do, okay? Specifically, this was the maths group
Yep.
at Camberwell Grammar, right? So they identified these guys are maths whizzes. Not my strong, I don't know, maybe you were a maths whiz at school,
No.
but that was these guys' strong suit, right? And so they decided they were going to create an amazing race-style competition for everyone at school to participate in at lunchtime. And we're not
awesome.
just talking like sitting around solving problems on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper. We're talking maps. We're
Yep.
talking time trials. We're talking running around the school. We're talking different locations, talking to different people. This was an amazing race math theme lunch
amazing.
challenge that these guys created. They already knew how to do it, but they identified a need at their school, and they used what they knew how to do to fill that need.
Wow. Love that story, Caleb. using something that they're already good at, maths. They already have people who are good at it, and they got lots of people in their school connected through this amazing race.
Amazing.
Sorry, I'll have to get that correct.
Maybe the Camberwell Grammar students can get online and tell us how to pronounce this properly. We might be making a mess of this.
I just love they used what they already knew how to do to make a difference. And I think that's our best leadership tip.
Great.
Use what you already know as a student leader. Use what you're already doing to make a difference. Not only inside your school, but outside of your school. There's endless opportunities.
Yeah, we've seen examples of both.
Yeah. But you can do that as a student leader. So there's our best leadership tip.
Love that. You got to use the skills and talents that you have, right? Because I think students often get caught up trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
They're trying to come up with the most innovative way.
Yep.
To run a fundraiser, the most innovative way to provide a lunchtime activity for everyone to get involved with.
Yep.
Just look at what you're good at.
Yeah.
Because if you're good at it and you're passionate about it and you run something to do with it, it's going to be contagious.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to want to get involved with that.
Exactly right. Love it. Okay, use what you know to make a difference. There's our best leadership tip. We'll get right back to this episode, brought to you by Grip Leadership. Grip Leadership are the premier providers of student leadership conferences right across Australia and New Zealand. Not only do they inspire student leaders, but they also practically equip them with ways that they can go back to their schools and lead. These conferences are the best way to equip yourself or your student leaders with the tools that they need to make a difference during their time as student leaders. Grip Leadership are proud to run these conferences in over 80 locations across Australia and New Zealand. To find out more or find a conference near you, go to www.gripleadership.com. Now let's jump back into this exciting episode of the Student Leadership News podcast.
3, 2, 1.
Top 3.
Okay, Cam, top 3.
Yeah.
We've been talking about how students can do what they already do, use what they already know to make a difference to not only their community, but also within their school as well. So we're going to look at the top 3 ways that you can make a contribution to your leadership team with what you know.
Yeah.
It's a running theme today. And I love these 3 tips, right? These are 3 tips. We've got to give some credit where credit's due here. We saw these featured. They were featured in the Grip Student Leadership Conference last year. We heard about them and we saw them posted on social media a couple of weeks ago as well. You might have seen that on the Grip Leadership social media channels. But we thought it tied in so nicely to this that we're going to use these tips as well.
Love it. Okay, well, I'll kick us off. The first way that you can make a contribution to your team is contribute your strengths. Contribute my strengths. And the reason this is so important is it ties in with everything we've talked about already. Like, use what you know to make a difference. Something that you already know is your strengths. Sometimes you do have to do a little bit of digging to find out what your strength is. But like, say you're a good public speaker, then the best thing that you can do to make a contribution to your team, to make a contribution to your school, is to be the public speaker. Maybe your team is coming up with some event ideas and you need to get everyone in the school involved, but you also need to let them know what's happening. Then you need someone to be the spokesperson, to stand up there.
Yep.
You can be that person.
Yes.
You can use that skill to make the difference that you need for your school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most important things. Caleb, I saw this diagram a little while ago. That had this circle. We'll actually share this diagram in the comments of this post on Facebook.
Great. I'm going to check it out.
So if people want to see this, there will be the pictured diagram on Facebook.
Okay, great.
Okay. I saw this diagram. It was a circle, right? And there was lots of little arrows, like 1 centimeter arrows, heaps of them going around the outside of the circle. And in the middle, it's like contributing to a lot of things. And there's like all these like little lines going around it. And like they're all making just a little contribution. The little arrows are like the little bits of contribution that the person's making. Then there was this other circle and it said contributing my strength. And it was just like one circle with one massive line that was going out the top of it.
Okay.
What this points to is like when you're making a contribution to like lots of different things, you're often missing your strength and you're often making like just small contributions. And you know, sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's what's needed. But if you want to make a big difference, if you want to use those skills that you have to make a difference, then one of the best things that you can do is contribute your strength and you'll make a big contribution doing it. So that's one of the first things that you can do. Look at your team, say, how can I contribute my strength in this? That's your first tip for making a big contribution.
Fantastic tip there. I'll share tip number 2. It is to contribute the necessary tasks that are less enjoyable. You see, every school has these. And I think this ties in so well to what we've been talking about today, Cam, because I'm actually thinking about a story that you tell.
Yeah.
Right? Because you tell this fantastic story about note-taking.
Yeah.
Note-taking's not something that everyone can do really, really well, but it is necessary.
It's
not
very
that
necessary.
enjoyable, arguably. It's not a lot of fun to be the one who has to sit in the meeting and scroll down everyone's thoughts as quickly as you can and try to make sense of it.
It's very true. Yeah.
But some people are really good at it,
Yeah.
right? So if that's something you know how to do,
Yep.
you got to contribute that necessary task that is less enjoyable. That's something that you can do to contribute to your team.
And sometimes there's these necessary tasks that people aren't even good at, but they just need to get done. And without them getting done, your team actually may not be an effective team. They may not actually be able to make a difference in your school. And so sometimes you just have to put your hand up and just do it. Like for the example that you're talking about, the story I was telling, there's this person that I went to school with who really actually didn't like note taking. They were kind of good at it, but they didn't like it. But our whole leadership team actually kept making these mistakes. We kept not doing these things that we said would do until one day this person put up her hand and she said, I'll take the notes for our team.
Right.
And from there, taking the notes every single week, she was able to help us remember what we said during our meetings. And although it was not something that throughout the year, she was like, this is my favorite thing. She made a big contribution. Our team was able to be effective because of it.
Love it.
Okay.
Contribute necessary tasks that are less enjoyable. That's tip number 2. Bring us home, Cam.
Okay. Tip number 3. This one's really important, Caleb. Contribute a sense of enjoyment.
Boom.
Leadership sometimes can be seen as this super serious thing, right, Caleb? Something that you like, if you're the leader of the school and you're making the announcement on stage, you have to look super serious. You have to stand up there with a straight face so everyone respects you. It doesn't always go like that, right?
No.
It's really important to contribute a sense of enjoyment, especially in a team. Like, you don't have to be the class clown or anything, but even just bringing like brownies to a team meeting can contribute a sense of enjoyment, make people enjoy it. The reason for this is if people don't enjoy leadership team things, like if people don't enjoy coming to your meetings, the truth is they probably won't come by the end of the year.
No.
Or they'll probably come like really not wanting to be there, and they probably won't contribute.
Right, and that's what I was going to say, is when you're enjoying it, you actually do a much better job as well.
Yeah. When people enjoy something, Caleb, I've never heard someone say, I enjoyed that so much, I'm never doing it again. Like, people don't say that. If people enjoy something, they want to do it again.
Yeah.
Like, if I enjoyed surfing, I would want to do it again and again and again. Just an example, because we're sitting at the beach. But people enjoy doing things, and so they come back and do them again. If you make your leadership team meetings enjoyable, they'll do it again. If you make your events enjoyable, people will come back and do it again. It's as simple as just using the things that you've already got. You know the answers.
Yep.
You've got the skills. Maybe you get your hospitality team to whip up a batch of brownies for the leadership team, or the
or some
whole
apple
grade.
crumble.
Something like that. And you can use those things that you already know to make a big difference.
Yeah, that's
but there
great.
you go.
That's great, Cam. And I think that ties off so well what we've been talking about today. You already know.
Yep.
You already know. We're so excited to hear about what you think about this podcast, about student leaders perhaps taking this advice on board. Maybe you've been a bit puzzled. Maybe you're not sure what to do to finish off this year well. You know, it's term 3 now.
Yep.
We're moving through the year nicely. Maybe you're a bit stuck for ideas. Look at what you already know, because you already know the answer.
I love what you said there. You know, it's near the end of the year, and some student leaders are getting ready to finish up. And maybe they're running short on ideas. Well, you can still do more stuff. There's still that possibility there. But also for the new student leaders, the student leaders going into next year, you need to back yourself. You already know the answers to all of. You don't have to look at this year's group and say, like, what did they do? Let's do the same things. You already know that some of the answers to the problems that your school is facing.
That's great.
And so you can use those things. But there we go. There's the round off of the episode. Caleb, it's been so much fun.
Pleasure to be with you again today, Cam.
Yeah, and great job. You already know the answer. We've helped the student leaders. Students, if you do have any questions, teachers, if you have any questions, feel free to send them in to editor@studentleadership.news. We always love hearing from you guys. Or leave a comment on any one of our social media
Absolutely.
posts.
Let us know how this advice influenced your student leadership meetings and plans over the next few weeks. We'd love to hear about it.
Yes. And if you love this episode, feel free, if you're listening on iTunes, to go leave it a rating, leave a review. We always love hearing from you guys. If you're listening to it on Spotify, That's fine. We hope you enjoyed it as well. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Student Leadership News Podcast. Interact with us on social media and follow the news online at studentleadership.news.